Okay, so I wanted to shed some light about the discussions of like the Second Amendment rights and like gun control aspect of like the Charlie Kirk discussion because some people were throwing in like the out of context quotes of him like supporting like people being shot and killed and like school shootings and all that, and that's not true. Like he was talking about the Second Amendment and prefacing that the consequences of the Second Amendment is that there are going to be people who are going to abuse that right to commit gun related violence. That's what he meant. Like, I don't even really need to read the rest of the context to know that he was not actively supporting people just shooting him or shooting people left and right and just using their guns to commit acts of violence. He was defending the constitutional right to bear arms for the express purposes of self defense and fighting against a potentially tyrannical government. That's what he was defending. Plus, there was a clip of him like arguing towards someone to like advocate for armed guards to be present in schools, just like how there are armed guards present in like concerts or banks or stadiums or like important, other institutions. Basically, he was advocating for protection of students by having, people present, like armed, trained officers and, patrol agents to protect students against violence. So, yeah, he advocates for some level of gun control, some level of protection. He advocates for safety while also fighting to maintain Second Amendment rights. Now, whether you agree or disagree with him, that's up to you, but that's fundamentally what he was talking about. Throwing out aside from the fact that you people no longer have the right to talk about gun violence and criticizing people who support the Second Amendment because you blatantly demonstrated that you do support gun violence towards people that you politically disagree with. So you do not have the moral high ground when it comes to this discussion.
You just said that you just said that you
Let's talk about and break down the actual numbers and the actual, nature surrounding gun violence in America. Shall we? Of the 45 to 47,000 plus gun related deaths in America, over half of them have been suicide, not homicide. Let's start with that. Taking away the guns is not going to necessarily reduce as much gun violence as you think, because you also have to take into account guns that have been acquired illegally, either via straw purchasing. So somebody who is legally eligible to purchase a gun buys it and then either hands it over or sells it to somebody who is ineligible or unable to purchase a gun. There's that. Also, guns acquired by the black market. Ghost guns, guns that are being like built and manufactured. Because I know in a case in Canada, there have been cases of people who are 3D printing parts of guns to make guns illegally, hence unable to be traced, and then selling them on the market. So and also just the simple fact of theft, people either breaking into places or just stealing guns. So again, you have to take that into consideration. And then also there's the factor of like non-fatal violent crimes typically do not involve guns at all, like robbery or assault, like crimes of that nature. They don't involve firearms nearly as much as like more seriously violent offenses like aggravated assault or murder. Because yes, the majority of homicides in the U.S. are perpetrated with the use of firearms, but the majority of gun violence are not homicide related. So that's where I think like people get it mixed up. It's more complex than people just make it out to be. They oversimplify the issue. That's what a lot of these like super anti Second Amendment people just come across. Like they don't really think things through. Like most law-abiding citizens who own guns, they do believe and support, gun control. They do believe in stricter access to guns or more, more methods, because there already are restriction methods implemented in it, and like they don't advocate for just anybody to acquire a firearm. But like it seems like these anti-gun people really just think that the opposite side just believes in like anybody can get a gun for free, here you go, just get all the guns, anybody. No, most people believe that responsible individual adults who do not have a history of violent crimes or like histories of like domestic violence or these super serious offenses should have access to guns. Nor do they believe like felons, people who've been charged and convicted and put to jail for serious offenses should be allowed to have guns either.